Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week, I've been driving the 2026 Ram 2500 Black Express Turbo Diesel. Up front is a 6.7 liter turbocharged diesel inline 6, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving the Ram 2500 as my daily driver, and I have to say I am a big fan of this truck, and I'm excited to share with you why that is, as well as what makes this truck so good. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 6.7 liter turbo diesel inline 6 under the hood. Well, that is quite frankly the crown jewel of this truck, because as you'll notice, this is pretty much a base model truck with that $13,000 engine option. $12,995 for the Cummins turbo diesel, but it is worth every single penny of that price tag. While it only makes 435 horsepower, it makes 1,075 pound-feet of torque, and that is why you want the Cummins turbo diesel. It's also a pretty reliable engine. There are a couple of minor things here and there, but longevity's sake is very good with the 6.7, and that has been awesome. It's fantastic to drive. It has the torque to spin the world backwards if it wants to, and I love feeling that. I love driving it. Now, like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. There's a couple of little weird shifts here and there. It is a torque flight transmission. There was a couple times where I was like, that was an interesting downshift. However, it shifted on the column, which I absolutely adore, and I get to drive it around like your uncle out on the farm, resting his wrist on the shifter. I love column shifts, and this truck has it. Last but not least about the drivetrain, this of course is 4-wheel drive, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. How does it feel to drive the 2500 Ram? It's great. Like I said, that engine is absolutely wonderful. It is a powerhouse of all powerhouses. It sounds like brass knuckles knocking on your door at 1 in the morning, and I love that. I love the feeling of it. I love the power, but mostly I love the torque. You could do absolutely anything you want. I truly believe that if someone in a skyscraper made me mad enough, I could pull his office to the ground if needed, and that is what I love about this engine. Now, the rest of the ride isn't great. It's a very bumpy ride when the vehicle is unloaded, because this is meant to tow up to 20,000 pounds, and this is supposed to have a very rugged amount of towing capacity. Driving it day to day, it's rough. It throws you around, it chucks you around, and as we'll talk about later on, that was not my favorite thing this week, but that's what you would expect out of a heavy-duty product like this. Visibility is okay. However, we only have a backup camera, and we'll talk a lot about that later on, so you're kind of left to your own wits with these giant mirrors, but you know, you'll be fine. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer, coolant temperature, and DEF percentage, or diesel exhaust fluid percentage. And off to the right, we have our oil temperature, speedometer, and fuel. In the center, we do get that customizable screen. Lots of things to go through in here, lots of fantastic information that Ram gives you in here, and this is pretty much followed through all of Stellantis' products. They are pretty good at giving you different options and screens and things to monitor if you would like. On the steering wheel on the left, we do have our phone options as well as our selector for that gauge cluster screen, and off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise control settings as well as our gear limit. Off to the left of the steering wheel, we do have a climate control vent as well as our headlight switch and fog light switch down below. I didn't touch this the entire week I had it, left it on auto, and it did a good job. And moving out of the door, we have our power windows, power locks, and our power mirror adjustments. We get lights on the mirrors, as well as we do get a button to fold out the factory installed tow mirrors. So if you are towing that 12,000-pound trailer of gravel, you can pop these mirrors out a little bit to see around them, which is very, very helpful. Moving into the center, we do get a Ram logo as well as a 12-volt outlet, and then we get the infotainment display. Now, this is a pretty large infotainment display, especially for a more base model truck. However, it still has nice apps. It has wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, things like that. The Apple CarPlay has actually been really, really fast to connect in this truck. I don't know if they updated it for 26 or if I just caught it on a couple of good days, but it connected to my phone so seamlessly every single time I got in the truck. And unfortunately, the climate controls are ran mostly through the screen. We do get some physical buttons on the outside for like defrost and temperature and things like that, but it is a mostly screen-oriented system. Now, we do get a backup camera, and it is pretty clear. However, in a big truck like this, I really would have liked to have seen a 360 camera, or at least a front nose camera, because the nose is so high, and especially at $75,000, would have liked to have seen that, but at the end of the day, not the end of the world. Down below, we do get some physical buttons for our trailer brake adjustment, as well as our exhaust brake, tow haul mode, and our parking sensors on and off. To the far left of all of that, we do have a heavy duty badge, along with our 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and 4-wheel drive low buttons, or 4 high and 4 low. And then down towards the floor, we do have 2 USB-Cs, 2 USB-As, and an aux input. So any type of input you would want for the infotainment, you have it down here. And if that isn't enough to charge your devices, you do get a wall outlet to the far right, along with a nice shelf for storage. I do also have some storage in front of the bench seat, which has been nice. And then we get the center console. So we do have cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test. And actually, the heavy duty trucks pass where the 1500s actually don't, or at least the one that I tested that had the center console, if it has this flip center console, it will in fact pass the big friggin' bottle test. And we can open it up. We do get a USB-A outlet in there, as well as some storage, but you could also flip the seat up to create a complete bench seat in the middle of the truck. Now, the seats are cloth. They are boring. They're not very comfortable. They are not heated either, which would have been nice not only for $75,000, but also here in Chicago during the winter. I definitely would have opted for the heated seats. However, again, not a game ender, but something to note if you're looking to buy one. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's hop in the back and do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Ram 2500, we do have this diesel only thing. I think that's kind of interesting. But once we are getting into the back here, we do have a nice grab handle. And once we are back here, tons and tons of space. Pickup trucks of the modern era have fantastic back seats. I couldn't say that about the pickup trucks of 30 years ago, but modern ones are good. Down here, we do have climate control vents, which is very, very nice, especially given the fact that this is the Express. We do get a center seat, and this window does open power with the switch found up there. So that is a power opening window, which is very, very nice. But again, much like the front, much like the rest of this truck, it is rather Spartan. Headroom is great, knee room is great. I fit back here very well, and that's a very good thing. Speaking of space, let's hop into the very back and take a quick look at the bed. All right, coming around the back of the Ram 2500 diesel, and we do have a standard tailgate. It's not even a soft opening tailgate or anything like that, and we don't even get a bed liner. Now, we do get a wall outlet over there. Very, very nice to see that. And we have tie downs pretty much anywhere where you would want one, but this was a work truck, so you can opt to spray in a bed liner. You can buy a drop-in bed liner, or you can leave it just like this. So very, very nice. You kind of have options, but then again, for 75 grand, I would have liked to have seen a spray-in bed liner, but I guess if you're buying this for a different purpose and you don't want one, you don't have to have one. So the tailgate is nice and light because it doesn't open up 6 ways or have LEDs or speakers in it, so that is definitely nice, and you do get the backup camera right above the handle. So there you go. That's the rear cargo space of the Ram 2500 Express. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and dare I say this truck looks bad ass. This is the Black Express, so it does have blacked out accents. It's a darker tone of the truck. It has different wheels that are blacked out. And overall, I really, really like it. I think it's handsome. I think it does the job well. I think it's good to look at. And it just has that sort of strong presence that you would want out of a truck like this. You know, this truck is meant to do a hard day's work, and it doesn't look half bad while doing it. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Ram 2500 Express Diesel for the last week? Well, couple of downsides. There are a couple of moments and a couple of places in this truck where you do feel that this is kind of a cheapo version. The seats are cloth, they're not heated. If I'm spending this much money, I would have liked to have seen that. You could say I have soft hands, that's fine. I don't care. I went to go see if there was something on my face and realized that the driver does not get a mirror on the sun visor. This would have cost 10 cents to put a mirror in, but you don't get it. And maybe the most annoying cheap out is the fact that it doesn't have a 360 camera. I get it, money, whatever, but the front grille still has a location for the 360 camera. And I looked at it when I was coming out of the store the other day and I was like, oh, it does have a 360 camera. And I walked up to it and said, oh, that's just a piece of plastic. So some minor annoyances there. However, I have to share a personal story to fully get my ideas out about this truck. Right before I got the loan of this truck, I was in the hospital for 11 days. 6 days, then I came home, pain came back, went back for another 5. I ended up having abdominal surgery where a surgeon took out 6 inches of my intestine. You can't see it here right now, but under my sweatshirt, I actually have a maxi pad duct taped to my stomach so I don't bleed through my shirt. It's a fresh wound. And while I was in the hospital, there was a phrase that kept coming up and a phrase that kept coming across my mind. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Because you cannot have money and still be okay. You cannot have a girlfriend and still be okay. You cannot have a job or a good house or a good car and still be okay. But if you don't have your health, you do not have anything. That is the bottom line. I don't care if you have 10 cars and a mansion. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And that's how I feel about this truck, is that if you don't have a solid engine, you don't have anything. Because I can forgive the lack of driver's side mirror. I can forgive the lack of 360 camera. I can forgive the cloth seats because that engine is so solid, it's going to be reliable, and it's very powerful. If it didn't have that Cummins turbo diesel, this truck would be nothing. It really doesn't have anything. But because it has that solid foundation of that engine, that amazing diesel engine, now this truck is fantastic. This truck is everything that I want, and it doesn't matter if my bum is a little cold. It doesn't matter if I could check my teeth for spinach. It doesn't matter if I could see over the giant nose when parking at Stop and Shop, because it has that major base covered. This truck has its health. And when you have your health, you might not realize it, but you are a superhero. You can go out and do things. You can walk around. You can be thankful for things because you're not wound up and tied up with your health. So if there's any takeaways from this video, the Cummins turbo diesel is great. And if you're not sick right now, if your family isn't sick right now, you are the richest person in the world. Do not take that for granted ever. You're rich beyond your wildest dreams if you can stand up, walk outside, and breathe in fresh air. Because I couldn't for 11 days. I couldn't even walk on my own for 11 days. And now that I'm back out and about, I have a new lease on what it's like to be healthy. And I have a new love for the Cummins turbo diesel. This thing is awesome and I love it, and I'm sad that I'll have to give it up soon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Stellantis for letting me borrow their Ram 2500 for the last week. Huge thank you to G. Schmitz for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this truck. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate the support Over the last couple of weeks, I've been a little bit more absent, but I'm slowly regaining strength and my health, and I appreciate the patience. I appreciate the grace. I appreciate the grace and everyone that sent me messages. It meant the world to me. So, from my heart to yours, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.